What's up, YouTube? This is Too Raw for TV. All right, so want to go ahead and finish off this all-time top 10 small forward list here on this Thanksgiving holiday. So just to do a brief recap, of course, at number 10, I had James Worthy. Number 9, Dominique Wilkins. Number 8, Scottie Pippen. Number 7, Rick Barry. Number 6, Elgin Baylor. Number 5, Kevin Durant. Number 4, John Hondo Havlicek. At number 3, the Dr. Julius Erving. Number 2, Larry Bird. And number 1, LeBron James. Now, I know some people don't want to see or don't like to see LeBron James in that particular spot. But, these are my arguments. The longevity. LeBron, even though now we're starting to see signs that age and just the sheer amount of games and wear and tear that he has on his body are taking their toll on him now. It's obvious now here in his 20th season. All right, but still, to be able to put up the numbers that he's putting up, the production that he's putting up, is still phenomenal. Still to be averaging 24, 8, and 6, or whatever his numbers are, they're still phenomenal numbers. Look, I know people also like to take into account the losing finals record of 4-6, and that is significant. And to me, I agree. That should keep him out of the GOAT conversation overall, or hurts him in the GOAT conversation at least. But let's remember something. Karl Malone, when he retired after 2003, 2004, was the second leading scorer in the history of the NBA. Karl Malone could have kept playing. There's this myth that physically he couldn't play anymore. It wasn't physically. It was mental. He no longer had the mental drive to play anymore after his mother passed away. He was going to sign with the San Antonio Spurs. Had his mother still been alive, he probably would have played with the Spurs, ultimately would have passed Kareem in scoring and won a championship. But be it as it may, when he retired, he was the second leading scorer, and he was only 0-2 in the finals. But yet, he was considered the greatest power forward of all time, based upon his accomplishments and his unbelievable longevity. It wasn't really until Tim Duncan won that 4th ring that he became the consensus GOAT. So are we being a little bit unfair at times when it comes to LeBron James? Maybe a little bit. Before I go further, I want to talk about his accomplishments, his resume, which is arguably the greatest resume in the history of professional basketball. 4-time NBA champion, 4-time NBA Finals MVP, 4-time NBA MVP, 18-time NBA All-Star, second only to Kareem. More than likely he's going to tie Kareem this year. 3-time NBA All-Star Game MVP, 13-time All-NBA First Team, 3-time All-NBA Second Team, 2-time All-NBA Third Team. 5 times he was on the NBA All-Defensive First Team. Now, I will admit, some of these first team selections are a little bit generous, all right? But in the Miami years, I do think that he played better defense. He was on the NBA All-Defensive Second Team in 2014. He was the NBA Rookie of the Year 2003-2004. He won the scoring championship in 2007-2008. He led the NBA in assists 2019-2020. He's on the NBA's 75th anniversary team. And I'm not going to go into the collegiate stuff. I mean, we're actually not collegiate, excuse me. The amateur stuff. But he was a 4-time Associated Press Athlete of the Year. 3 time Sports Illustrated Sports Person of the Year, Time Athlete of the Year, USA Basketball Male Athlete of the Year, and rest of that is before he turned pro. And of course, he won Olympic gold in Beijing in 2008, Olympic gold in London in 2012, and he won the bronze in 2004 in Athens. And I think I forgot to mention in the other video that Larry Bird won Olympic gold in Barcelona in 1992. I may have been forgetting to add that to the resume with some of these other players. But anyway, you all know that. LeBron James is the second all-time leading scorer as of right now. He has, let's see, LeBron James has 37,311 points scored. So he's a little over 1,000 points still trailing Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. He has played in 1,376 career games. He's made 13,643 field goals, which I believe is second all time. And he's made 2,157 three-pointers. He's knocked down 7,868 free throws. He's pulled down 10,298 rebounds, dished out 10,114 assists. So he's about 28 assists shy of passing Magic Johnson. But to put that in perspective, he's played in 470 more games than Magic Johnson. 470. So he's not the passer that a lot of these other guys on the list are. Some of these numbers are longevity stats. And also, he has 2,147 career steals and over 1,048 career blocks, though he doesn't block as many shots as he once did. And of course, at 4,822, he's the all-time leader in turnovers. For his career, he averages 27.1 points, 7.5 rebounds, 7.4 assists. He shoots 50.4% from the floor, 34.5% from three, 73.4% from the foul line. And he has 250 combined career win shares and a career PER rating of 27.3. Just elite all-around numbers. I remember when he first came into the NBA, and I remember all the hype. And to me, he's still the most hyped athlete to ever come into the league. And I remember watching him playing in that McDonald's All-American game. It was him and other high school athletes, and you could see the separation between him and the other people on the floor. He just, it was a joke. You could see that this was a man amongst boys. I could see then that he was going to be a great player. In my estimation, LeBron James has exceeded the expectations of, what people thought of him or what his potential was coming into the league. He had some advantages that Kobe didn't have. Kobe was still playing in an era, even though it was coming to the end of that era, where you had it was merit. You had to earn your keep. You had to earn your spot. And also, he was on a loaded Lakers team, so he had to wait a couple of years. And plus, playing behind Shaq, these things hurt his overall numbers. But LeBron had the advantage of coming to a terrible Cavaliers team. He's from Akron, so he had the keys to the franchise to be their featured premier player from the get-go. The first couple of years, the Cavaliers were entertaining to watch, but they weren't a threat. But ultimately, um, they did become a playoff team starting in, I think, 2005, 2006 season, I think it was. Yeah, 2005, 2006. I mean, it's the first year they went to the playoffs, but it was the very next year that LeBron James and the Cavaliers went on an unexpected and somewhat improbable run to the finals. Though sometimes I do believe that championship run gets a little bit overstated by LeBron's fans. In their memory, they make it seem like LeBron was killing in every game, and that they beat some serious, and upset some serious competition. When in reality, in the first couple rounds, they beat two 41 win teams in Washington and New Jersey, and then the next round they beat a Pistons team that was favored, but was still not the Pistons team that they once were, and were without Ben Wallace. So it is what it is. They were swept in the finals by the San Antonio Spurs, even though a lot of those games were winnable. But anyway, after this, LeBron James, the expectations for him rose, and they were expected to make a trip ultimately to the finals and go against Kobe Bryant. By that time, the Lakers had acquired Pau Gasol. There were commercials showing this expected, matchup, but it wasn't to be. While Kobe Bryant did make it to 3 consecutive finals, LeBron James kept being derailed, whether it was by the Boston Celtics, the big three of KD, Paul Pierce, and Ray Allen, or it was the upstart Orlando Magic, led by Dwight Howard. The pressure of him to win a championship ultimately led him to make one of the most infamous decisions in the history of sports, and that was to leave his home team and to go to Miami. What made this so unusual is that he, Dwayne Wade, and Chris Bosh, had colluded. They had colluded with one another to form this team to compete with the Boston Celtics. And ultimately, they did win a championship. Not their first year, but they did win 2 championships in 4 years. So they were pretty successful, but they were not the juggernaut that many people expected. All right? And infamously, in LeBron's first year with the Miami Heat, they were upsetted by the Dallas Mavericks and Dirk Nowitzki. And LeBron had the worst finals appearance ever by a superstar, or performance by a superstar. Now, after the Miami Heat got a little bit older, LeBron saw the signs. He saw young Kyrie Irving in Cleveland. He came back to Cleveland. And one thing that you got to give LeBron James credit, those Cavalier teams under Kyrie were not winning. But once LeBron James got there, along with Kevin Love, they went to the NBA Finals. Now, that team was shorthanded. They did not have Kyrie Irving after Game 1. Kevin Love was injured throughout that series. He did not play at all. But LeBron James rose his level of play to such a degree that despite not having his top 2 lieutenants with him, he led that team against a 67-win Warriors team to a 2-1 lead before fatigue set in, and ultimately the Warriors beat the Cavaliers in 6. But to me, that was a tremendous performance, so much so that you could argue that LeBron should have joined Jerry West as only the second player to win Finals MVP on a losing team. I think if that series had went to 7 games, LeBron would have won MVP. the next year, the Warriors won 73 games, as we all remember. And it was a rematch of the Cavaliers. This time, they were healthy, the Cavaliers. Not so much the Warriors. It was a flip of fortunes. Game 5, Draymond Green, of course, was suspended for his actions in Game 4. And in Game 6 of that series, the Warriors lost their big man. All right? And that was pivotal. That gets forgotten because not only was their big man, whose name is slipping my mind right now, but from Australia. But anyway, not only was he a great screen setter, but he was a great rim protector. And without his presence, then all of a sudden you saw players like LeBron James, you saw players like J.R. Smith to an extent, you saw players like Kyrie Irving all of a sudden now begin to take it to the basket. And ultimately they came back from a 3-1 deficit, the first time in the finals that a team that came back from a 3-1 deficit. Now afterwards, LeBron James, look, that was the pinnacle of his career in a lot of ways. Afterwards, they did go back to 2 more finals, but by that time the Warriors had acquired Kevin Durant, and those finals were not very competitive at all, especially in 2018 after the departure from Cleveland of Kyrie Irving. And the big man I'm trying to think of earlier, name was Andrew Bogut. His name slipped my mind. So, LeBron James leaves the Cavaliers after 2018, after his contract has expired, and he goes to the Lakers. This is where his resume becomes a lot more spotty. In 2018-19, despite the expectations that the Lakers would go to the playoffs, ultimately they failed. A lot of it had to do with injuries to LeBron James, missing 7 games that year. But ultimately the Lakers only go, 35-47, I believe it was that year. 37-45, I think it was. The next year, after they acquired the best big man in the NBA at that time, who was Anthony Davis, they go to the finals, albeit in a situation where, they're playing in a bubble, we're going through a pandemic, it's unusual circumstances. There was a 4.5 month work stoppage of play. But anyway, they beat the Miami Heat in the finals, 4-2, even though they were forecasted to sweep the Miami Heat. And despite the fact that Heat had some key injuries, they still were able to win 2 games against the Lakers. But still, they won. But then since then, things have not been very good in Lakerland. As defending champions, they went 42-30, but they lost in the first round to the Phoenix Suns. And then the next year, they only go 33-49, not only not qualifying for the playoffs, but not even going to the play-in tournament. And this year, the Lakers are now currently 4-11. And LeBron James, over the last few years, has been more and more incapacitated by injuries as time has caught up with LeBron, who is now nearing 38 years of age. So he's in the twilight of his career, but it's been a glorious career and one of the greatest careers in the history of the NBA. So what you guys think, man? Do you think LeBron is the greatest small forward ever? Do you think I'm capping a little bit by putting him up there, or what do you feel? Tell me what you guys think.